Level 1. The Dreamer. You are 22 years old. You live on a farm in Ohio that hasn't turned a real profit in 3 years. The soil is played out. The debts keep stacking. Your father borrowed against the land, and the interest outpaces the crops every single season. You read the newspaper every morning. In January of 1848, a man named Marshall found gold at a sawmill on the American River in California. By December, the president himself confirmed it in front of Congress. By January of 1849, the papers run stories every week. Men pulling nuggets from riverbeds with their bare hands, fortunes in an afternoon. A single day's work worth more than a year behind a plow. You believe it. You want to believe it. When you're desperate enough, those are the same thing. You sell your horse, you borrow $40 from your uncle, you tell your mother you'll be back in 2 years with enough to clear the debt. She doesn't argue. She needs you to be right. The departure is harder than you expected. Your mother walks you to the gate at dawn. She doesn't cry. She presses a small Bible into your pack instead. Your sister gives you a cloth with food wrapped inside. Cornbread and salted meat. You eat it the first day on the road and it tastes like everything you're leaving behind. The ride to independence takes 3 weeks. You stay in towns where the names change but the structure stays the same. Dust, livestock. Men preparing for their own journeys. You meet a preacher on the road near Kansas. He is heading west too, but for different reasons. He talks about souls needing saving more than prospectors needing gold. You listen politely and say nothing. You already have what you came to believe. Level 2, the crossing. You join a wagon company leaving Independence, Missouri. 41 men. 6 wagons. Everyone wears that same expression. Hungry, but not for food. For the thing the papers promised. The first 2 weeks are manageable. Green grass, clear trail. Men ride alongside the wagons and talk about what they'll build when they get back. By week 4, the grass is gone. The trail is littered with furniture people pitched off their wagons to spare the oxen. Chairs, dressers, a piano half buried in mud, keys gone gray. You pass a grave marker every few miles, then every few hundred yards. 3 men in your company die before you reach Nevada territory. 1 from cholera. 1 crushed beneath a wagon wheel, 1 from a fever that nobody could name. The Sierra Nevada in October are brutal. Snow comes early. You push the wagons up grades by hand, steep enough that you can't see the crest. Your boots fall apart somewhere in the mountains. You wrap canvas around your feet and keep walking. You reach Sacramento in November, 20 pounds lighter than when you left. Boots gone, $40 gone. You have a shovel, a tin pan, and a blanket with 3 holes in it. You are here. That is the only thing you can say about your condition. The other men from your wagon company scatter within days. Some head north toward different river systems. Some book passage on steamers heading back, broken after just the crossing. One man named Garrett takes you to a boarding house run by a woman from Boston. She charges 15 cents for a bunk and 30 cents for actual food. You sleep there one night and wake up knowing you cannot afford a second. That is when you understand it is not the gold you need to find. It is movement, constant forward motion towards somewhere cheaper, somewhere that might still hold something. The boarding house woman tells you the best camps are north and east. The populated valleys are already stripped, she says, but she says it without conviction. She is from Boston. She has seen every ending before it hay. Pepend. Level 3. The price of everything. Sacramento sends you north. The roads are rivers of mud. Every settlement along the way is the same thing. Canvas buildings. Men moving in every direction. Prices on boards outside every tent that would stop your heart if you weren't already numb. A single egg costs $1. You had eggs every morning in Ohio without a second thought. Here you think about them constantly. A shovel costs $12. A pickaxe costs $10. A simple wool blanket costs $8. A bag of flour costs what a laborer back east earns in a week. You sleep in a tent with 4 other men from Ohio. The tent leaks. The ground under your bedroll is always damp. You wake up cold and stay cold until exhaustion pulls you under again. You buy your equipment from a merchant named Webb. Pickaxe, shovel, tin pan, a rough pine sluice box he builds in his yard and charges extra for assembling. $63 total. You only have 40. You borrow 23 from a man named Pruitt at 10% monthly interest. You shake his hand. You try not to do the math. Webb counts your change without looking at your face. He is already looking at the man behind you. Walking back to your tent, the mathematics of the decision begins to settle in your mind. $23 borrowed means $2.30 owed next month, then $2.70 the month after that. Compound interest is a simple concept that becomes monstrous when it is your money. You have not yet swung a pickaxe in anger. You already owe more than your original $40. The men you share the tent with do not seem concerned. They have their own debts, their own mathematics running in their own minds. One of them, a quiet man from Cleveland named Hodges, has been here since August. He tells you the math gets better once you find a good claim. Says he made $40 last week. You nod as if $40 is the amount that matters. He does not mention what he owes. You do not ask. Level 4. The claim. You travel into the Sierra Nevada foothills with 3 other men. The American River, the Feather River, the Yuba. Every waterway is already dense with workers. You find a stretch on the North Fork that isn't fully staked. Signs of earlier men are everywhere. Rotted sluice timber, a rusted coffee pot, a pile of already processed gravel heaped on the bank. Discarded ground. You claim 20 feet of riverbank anyway. That is yours. The first morning, you wade in at first light. The water is cold enough that your feet go numb before you've taken 3 steps. You shovel gravel into your pan. You swirl. You dump. You shovel again. Your back begins to scream around noon. At the end of 12 hours, you have roughly $2 in fine gold dust. Specks. Color, the other miners call it. Not nuggets. Not the fist-sized lumps from the newspaper stories. Dust. You do the math that night by firelight. $2 a day, $60 a month. Minus food at $30, minus supplies, minus Pruitt's interest compounding every week. You are barely covering your costs. You tell yourself it's only the first day. The river will open up. Better ground is out there. You tell yourself that every day for 3 weeks. Your partners give up after 2 weeks. One of them, a man from Pennsylvania named Thorne, tells you the whole thing is a con. The money is already made, he says. It was made when the first men got here. Everything now is just the cleanup, the scraps. He is probably right. You know he is probably right, but you are in debt to Pruitt for $23, and you have nowhere to go that is not forward. So you stay. You pan alone. You wake before dawn and work until dusk. You catch a fish one afternoon in a small pool and cook it over your fire. You eat the whole thing in 3 bites. The other miners around you are doing the same calculation you are. Staying because leaving requires admitting failure. Staying because the debt is worse than the exhaustion. The camp operates on a strange gravity where no one can leave and no one can quite succeed. Level 5, the hierarchy. You learn how this place works faster than you wanted to. At the top are men like Aldridge. He arrived in the spring of '48, before the rush was even a rush. He staked claims on 4 of the richest bends in the river and hired crews before most 49ers crossed Missouri. He doesn't mine anymore. He supervises. His workers run long tom sluices, machines that process 2 tons of gravel a day. He pays his men $1.50 and keeps everything they find. You process maybe a 1/4 ton by hand. The math is not close. Below Aldridge are the established claim holders, men who got here in '48 and early '49. They stake the ground that still produces. They know the river. They know each other. They set the rules. Disputes go before the miners' committee. The committee rules for whoever got there first. You did not get there first. You already know what that means. Then there are men like you, independent diggers, working whatever ground is left, always moving, always prospecting for a patch not completely played out, and above all of them, in a way that requires no pickaxe whatsoever, are the merchants. Webb, Pruitt, the man with the saloon tent. Gold flows out of the river and through your hands and into their pockets every single day. You are the bottom of this ladder. You already knew that. You just didn't know how far down the bottom actually sat. The camp has rules, but no enforcement beyond reputation and violence. A man stakes a claim by placing rocks at the corners. 20 feet is standard. The miners' committee enforces this only when both parties matter enough to enforce 4. A rich claim holder can push a poor claim holder. Everyone looks the other way. You have watched this happen twice. Once a man from Tennessee lost 40 feet of riverbank in a single afternoon. The committee heard both sides. They ruled for the established claim holder anyway. Reason provided was that the Tennessee man's markers were not properly set. You saw the markers. They were fine, but he had no money, no reputation, no friends on the committee. Justice in the goldfields is geometry. It depends entirely on where you stand. You are learning to stand very still, occupy very little space, make no claims on anything that anyone with money might want. Level 6. What the river costs. 3 months in. You have a cough that doesn't quit. Your hands are cracked past the point of healing. 2 fingernails have gone from the cold water exposure. You have not written home. The man in the tent beside yours is named Carver, Missouri farmer. 28 years old, solid man, good with a hammer. He got sick in October. Fever first, then dysentery. There was no doctor anywhere on the North Fork. Men brought him water. Someone gave him whiskey. Neither did anything. He died in 4 days. You helped carry him up the hillside. No coffin, no priest, no marker beyond a flat stone someone found in the riverbed. You stood there for a few minutes in silence. Then everyone walked back down to the claim. There was nothing else to do. You have watched 6 men die in 3 months. Cholera, fever, a drowning. When the river rose, 1 man shot during a claim dispute that started over 6 inches of riverbank. The camp treats death the way it treats rain. Something that happens, something you absorb and move past. The newspapers back east do not write about this part. Your debt to Pruitt has grown to $41 despite regular payments. Interest on interest. He explains the math calmly when you visit his tent. You nod. You understand exactly. You are paying to stay in debt. Your claim produces about $50 a month on a good month. Food takes $30. Supplies take $10. Pruitt takes $10. That is 0. Some months it is less than 0. You are not getting rich. You are paying for the privilege of getting poor slowly instead of all at once. The death of Carver changes something in you that you cannot name. You had thought the danger was the river, the cold, the exhaustion. But the danger is that no one cares if you die. Carver was good. He was competent. He had skills. And his death lasted 4 days and then was done. You start being more careful around the water, you start sleeping in your tent more, you start avoiding the other men because their situations feel contagious. A man from Kentucky tells you he lost his claim to a dispute. He is leaving for the interior valleys. Says there is unclaimed ground 3 weeks inland. You do not believe him, you believe him anyway. Belief is what keeps you functional. Level 7. What you watch from the bank. The rains come hard in November, the river floods. Your claim goes under 6 feet of brown water and fresh gravel. You sit in your tent for 4 days. Flour for a week, coffee for 2 days, $11 in gold dust in a small leather pouch. 41 owed to Pruitt. You watch the river from the bank. It doesn't care. It flooded before you arrived. It will flood again after you leave. Aldridge rides through camp on a gray horse, clean coat, dry boots. He is checking his sluices for storm damage. He has workers for that. He is just looking. He does not look at you. You start watching the other people in camp the way you used to watch the river. Not for gold, for patterns. The blacksmith sharpens picks for $1 each, no matter the weather. His tent stays dry, his fire stays lit. The woman who runs the laundry behind the supply tent charges 40 cents a shirt and turns away work she doesn't have time for. Her hands are cracked like yours. Her back probably aches like yours. But she is not standing in freezing water 12 hours a day waiting for something that might not be there. You watch Webb every morning, opening his supply tent. The same men file in and spend, wet season, dry season, boom or bust. The price of a shovel goes up when the last ship was late. The price of flour goes up when the road to Sacramento floods. His revenue is not connected to what the river produces. His revenue is connected to the fact that you are here at all. You are starting to understand the shape of the thing. The gold rush is not one economy. It is 2. One runs on gold coming out, tea of the ground. The other runs on the men trying to get it out. The woman who runs the laundry is from Chile. She came with her husband during the first rush. He died the winter of 48. She kept the business instead of going home. You find this remarkable. You ask her one afternoon while trading in a shirt why she stays. She looks at you like the answer is obvious. Because she has money, she says. Not much, but more than she had before, because no one here knows she is a woman running a business. In Chile, she would have been her husband's widow. Here she is, just another person turning profit. The logic of this is pristine and terrible. She has become invaluable by becoming impersonal. You watch her count coins and fold laundry, and you understand you are watching someone win. Level 8. The laborer. The river drops after 5 days. You walk to Aldridge's camp. You are not proud. Proud doesn't keep you from starving. He needs men to rebuild 2 sluices the flood damaged. $1.75 a day plus 1 meal. You take it without discussion. You work for Aldridge through the winter. You learn how to build long tom sluices from rough pine. You learn how to read a riverbed, where the gold settles, which bends accumulate heavy material. How to cut a channel to redirect water where you need it. You are good at this, Aldridge notices. By February, he puts you in charge of a 4-man crew. $2 a day. Your crew produces $8 to $12 in gold daily when the water is right. Aldridge keeps all of it. You manage the labor and collect a wage. You are 23 years old and you move more material in a day than your father moved in a season. You eat rigule, Arlie. You sleep under a real roof. You write home for the first time. You tell your mother you are working steady. You tell her the gold fields are hard. You don't mention Carver. You send her $15 and say there will be more. You watch the new arrivals come off the trail every week all through the spring. Hollow-eyed, thin, full of that fever you recognize from the inside out. They head straight to Webb's tent. They pay $60 for a shovel and a tin pan. They stake their marginal claims. They stand in the freezing water and swirl and wait for gold that mostly isn't where they're standing. You recognize every one of them. You don't say anything. There is nothing you could tell them that would change what they are about to go through. The fever doesn't hear other people talking. It only hears itself.